I never expected that the moment my wife dismissed my warning with a casual wave of her hand would be the moment everything began to unravel. People believe marriages fall apart because of huge betrayals or dramatic scandals. Mine cracked open because of something far more subtle, a simple choice that revealed a truth I had been afraid to face for years. It began quietly, like a small vibration under the surface of our lives. We were sitting at the kitchen table on a Thursday evening, the kind of evening where the house smells like leftover pasta and outside the neighborhood is sinking into silence. She told me she was leaving for a weekend trip with her friends. At first, I thought she was asking for my thoughts. But she wasn't. She was informing me. Her suitcase was already half packed upstairs. I told her I didn't mind her going out or enjoying time with her friends. What bothered me was something else. 2 weeks earlier, her closest friend Marina had been involved in a fight with another woman during a night out. The same group was planning this trip. It wasn't about controlling her, it was about the pattern I had seen too many times. She got caught in other people's chaos and expected me to clean up the emotional mess when she returned. I told her I had a bad feeling about this trip. I told her things felt off and that something about the timing, the location, the people, felt wrong. Not dangerous, just wrong for us, wrong for the tension we had been ignoring at home. She looked at me with a smile that felt rehearsed and said I was overthinking. She told me she needed a break, that she was tired, that life with me had become too heavy recently. The words were like tiny knives, not sharp enough to kill but sharp enough to hurt. I asked her if we could talk about what was making things feel heavy. She said she didn't want to ruin her mood before the trip. Then she said something that stayed in my head all night. She said I was becoming someone who limited her. She said it so easily, as if it were a fact she had investigated for months. I sat there silent while she zipped her suitcase. My warning wasn't a threat, it wasn't control, it wasn't jealousy. It was a plea for connection. But she saw it as interference. She left the next morning with a kiss on the cheek that barely brushed my skin. I watched her walk to the car, laughing on the phone with Marina, her bag bouncing at her hip. The house felt instantly bigger, emptier, like I had been abandoned by accident. That night, I couldn't sleep. Not because she was away but because something felt final. Like the door closing behind her was not a temporary departure, but the beginning of something neither of us had the courage to name. I lay there staring at the ceiling until I realized I had spent the last year trying to hold together a version of us that only I seemed to care about. Around 2 a.m, I sat up, and a strange calm washed over me. I suddenly understood something that had been hiding under every argument, under every cold silence, under every dismissive smile. She didn't take me seriously anymore. She didn't see me as her partner. She saw me as an obstacle she had to explain herself to. It hit me harder than any betrayal ever could. I didn't leave out of anger. I left because I couldn't stay in a home where my presence felt optional. I packed one duffel bag. Some clothes. My passport. A few personal things. Nothing dramatic. No messages. No goodbye notes. I simply locked the door behind me and drove to a small lakeside cabin a friend owned. I needed air that didn't feel like disappointment. I needed silence that didn't echo with arguments waiting to happen. The next morning, at 6:30, my phone exploded with notifications. At first, I ignored them. Then I saw her name filling the screen over and over. Calls. Messages. Missed video chats. Dozens. I opened the first message. It was short. Where are you? The second one followed. Are you okay? Then the third. Why did you leave? What is happening? Then I opened a voice note. Her voice was shaking. She said she came home earlier than planned because the trip turned into a disaster. She said there were fights, accusations, ruined plans. She said she had wanted to call me the night before but felt embarrassed after dismissing me so easily. She said she walked into the house expecting to find me, ready to apologize, ready to talk, ready to finally listen, and instead found an empty closet and a missing suitcase. Her voice cracked when she said she had never felt so scared. But the message that hit me the hardest was the last one. She said she never realized how much she relied on me being there, always waiting, always steady, always understanding. She said she thought I would always stay no matter how little she appreciated it. I sat on the wooden porch of the cabin listening to her words echo through the morning air. I felt a pang of guilt, then a wave of clarity. This wasn't about punishing her. It was about finally teaching both of us what silence really meant. She had ignored me for so long that my leaving became the only thing she could hear. When I finally called her back, she answered before the first ring finished. Her voice was a mixture of panic and relief. She asked why I left without saying anything. I told her that I had spent too long speaking in ways she didn't want to hear. I told her I needed to find myself outside of her shadow of irritation. I told her this wasn't revenge, it was revelation. She cried softly. Not dramatic crying, not manipulative crying. Real crying. The kind that comes from fear of losing something you never realized you depended on. She asked if I was coming home. I didn't answer right away. The silence stretched between us like a long hallway filled with memories. I told her I needed time. Time to think. Time to breathe. Time to know if we were still the couple we pretended to be. She promised she would listen. She promised she would change. She promised we would talk honestly, maybe for the first time in years. I told her I wasn't asking for promises. I was asking for actions. The call ended with her whispering that she loved me and that she finally understood why my warning mattered. I stayed at the cabin another night, watching the reflection of trees ripple across the lake. For the first time in a long time, I felt the weight of our marriage lifting, replaced by a fragile, trembling hope. I did eventually go back home. But not as the man who waited in silence. I went back as the man who refused to be ignored again. And when she opened the door with trembling hands and tearful eyes, I knew this was our real beginning, the moment where we either rebuilt everything honestly or let it fall apart with dignity. But one thing was certain. She finally listened. And for the first time, we finally had something real to say.